Welcome to Business Notes. I'm your host, Diane Bogino, President of Performance Strategies and Diane Bogino Development. D Wildflower is our guest today. Ms. Wildflower helps coaches, experts, consultants, and entrepreneurs become celebrity authority experts in an ultra niche industry and brand and launch a high-end online group coaching program. Her client list includes Academy and Grammy winners, New York Times bestselling authors, and globally recognized companies like Samsung, Dish Network, U.S. Bank, Toro, and Polaris. JD also helps her clients prevent or recuperate from burnout. JD, thank you for being on the show today.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Diane.
So, JD, you have two businesses, and I love how you've made a connection between the two. So let's begin with the VIP Global Media. So tell our viewers, why is branding so important?
Well, what I do with branding is a little bit different than a lot of people. So I come at things from what I call the organic branding perspective. And that's a term that I coined in the 90s back when I started doing this, because, you know, when I went to advertising school, okay, when I was in college, I saw that by learning all of these tools, right, by arming myself with all of these tools, that, you know, and myself and every single person that was there, that we were like, you know, having, you know, such powerful ways of manipulating people's experiences, right? And so for me, I decided right away that I was going to approach things from the ethical marketing standpoint. So that's why I call it organic branding. And I see that, or what I consider organic branding, is coming at creating one's brand image, whether it be personal image or a company image or a product image, from a really authentic standpoint of just really communicating, you know, the values of either you as the you know, personal brand, or as the representative for your personal brand, you know, or the products or the company, so that, you know, what you're doing in that type of way is it really bypasses that natural urge that a lot of people have to not want to be sold to. You know, when there's a lot of contrived energy around, you know, creating one's brand from a perspective of like just looking at who the target audience is, because a lot of people do branding this way. A lot of people come at things and they go, who's the target audience? You know, let's look at this demographic and let's alter, you know, the image of, you know, the personal brand or the professional brand or product brand, whatever, to fit that audience, no matter what it takes, right? Rather than going, you know, how can we really look at both of those things? How can we look at what is the unique perspective, you know, that this brand brings to the marketplace, and how can we convey that to the target demographic in a way that is going to be, you know, just really authentic. And what that does is it brings together this brand image that's not just this, you know, bag of false lies that I think is, you know, a lot of people, I mean, hey, I've been in the marketing world a really long time, and you would not believe some of the conversations I've heard, you know what I mean? Just in terms of like, you know, how people can manipulate others with what they're doing. And so, you know, I really love coming at things from this organic branding perspective, because it's really authentic. And from a, you know, and, you know, as business owners, we're always concerned about like, how do we, you know, is this effective, right? How does this play in the marketplace? Do people buy? And we actually find that people are far more interested in this type of branding experience, because it's not so like salesy and pushy kind of thing. It's more like, you know, here is, you know, who this company is, or here's who this personal brand is, and here's how this can really, you know, help you in your life, and just kind of being really transparent like that. You can tell I kind of geek out when it comes to the branding stuff, because I'm so passionate about it, because there's so many different ways of doing it. And, you know, I just really love going the organic and authentic route, you know.
Right, right. I love that word ethical. Don't hear that too much anymore. So tell our viewers about your VIP global client formula without giving too much away.
Oh, sure, sure. So, well, VIP Global Client Formula Program is it's it's basically a methodology, okay, that
Mm,
I've put together over 2.5 decades in the advertising industry. About, as well as a coach, because I've been a business coach
mhm.
during that time as well. So really, it's my, life's work at this point, methodology of how to help coaches and consultants really bridge that gap between their offerings and creating a signature program that helps them to connect. It helps them to do what I call ultra niche, and ultra niching means connecting with not just a niche. Okay, it's not just a niche. It's not just, we hear a lot these days about diversifying, especially for coaches and consultants, because so many people are doing it these days,
Mm,
that frankly, just some of them don't have the qualifications to be able to do it. And let's just be real about that, because that's one of the things that is, a challenge for a lot of coaches and consultants who have, years of experience doing what they do, and how do they be heard? That's the challenge I'm hearing from a
right.
lot of my clients that are coaches that have businesses as well as consultants, is they're struggling to be heard in a world that is oversaturated with overinflated egos on YouTube, right? That because they have a phone, right, and a camera on it, because it just comes on them nowadays, right? The
Right.
barriers to calling oneself an expert are so low compared to
Mm,
what you used to have to do. Because I'm old school marketing, I'm old school online. I've been online since the dawn of the interwebs. And,
mm,
you used to have mad skills to get online and call yourself an expert at anything, because, just the experience of getting a video like online, like, years
mm,
ago, was
mhm.
a very complex thing. And so the challenge that is really, presented for a lot of those coaches and consultants who've been, who really truly are experts at what they do, is that now they are struggling to be heard in this sea of voices,
Right.
of people who were, because there's, the barriers are so low to calling oneself an expert and to making a website, even making a website, like all that stuff, right? The barriers are so low.
Mm,
So VIP Global Client Formula, I created it so that I could help coaches and consultants who are already experts at what they do. It's not for newbies, right?
mm, mm.
It's for people that, really have a wealth of experience. It's to help them really ultra niche, which means to connect not only with a niche audience, but to connect with an ultra niche audience of a target demographic of people who have the problems that you solve, and who also have the money to be able to pay you high-end rates, because
Mm.
with VIP Global Client Formula Program, we are working with high-end rates and ultra high-end rates only. And that's why we call it a VIP program.
Mm,
And so it's really just something that helps to, helps coaches and consultants to build, brand, and launch an
mhm.
entire signature coaching system, revamp their business model, and supercharge their marketing and branding to really just cut through the noise, cut through the noise, get connected to the right clients that are right for them, and present themselves in a way that's not salesy, that's not cheesy, that's not
Right.
you know trying to be a guru and trying to look all flashy without having substance, kind of a thing. This is about, people with real skills, just helping them to really get heard, really in a sea of voices, you
Yeah.
know.
You talk about niches, and we also talked about multiple streams of income, But it sounds like you prefer that your client kind of stick to one particular audience. Is that what I hear you saying?
You know, that's a great question. So with it, one can have several ultra niches. That's the really cool thing about it. So like, you know, you mentioned two businesses. So I actually have multiple businesses. So the two that you've seen are the VIP Global Media, which is I started back in the 90s. That's my advertising agency. And through that, you know, I've worked with A-list celebrities, Academy winners, Grammy winners, New York Times bestselling authors, companies like Samsung, Dish Network, ADT, and all these, you know, people like that, and companies like that. And so I started that back in the 90s. I also started doing business coaching, and then I added in some life and holistic success coaching in you know, the early 2000s with my Holistic Success Institute. And I also own an event entertainment company that's based in Las Vegas and Minneapolis called Wildflower Mystical Entertainment. And so we travel all around the world, you know, with to provide high-end events, mystical event services. We do a lot of corporate events. We specialize in corporate events and, you know, things like that. So, you know, as a business owner, I believe in being diversified, having lots of baskets, not just one, you know. And so what I teach my clients to do when it comes to coaching and ultra niching is to actually be able, you know, and some people, so here's the deal, Diane, some people want to just have one niche, they want to stick with it, and that's what they want to do. You know, they want to do business coaching, they want to do executive coaching for a certain type of person, they want to do executive coaching for women, you know, that's what they want to do. And then there are others like myself who are just, you know, we kind of have multiple things going on. So, you know, so for example, I have two specific ultra niches when it comes to my coaching business. So one of my niches with my coaching is, you know, my business coaching, where I'm doing, you know, helping coaches and consultants build their businesses with VIP Global Client Formula. So that's one of my ultra niches. But then I also have my Holistic Success ultra niche, which is helping people with burnout, helping people either prevent or recuperate from burnout. And now, why do I have those? Like, how do those relate? Well, I went through a burnout. I went through a burnout in 2012 as a multifaceted entrepreneur. You know, it just went there for me. It went into a full burnout. I had done many burnouts before, but in 2012, I went into this full-on burnout. And, you know, that for me, I took 2 years to deconstruct why I got into burnout in the first place and what I could do to prevent it from happening again. So, you know, there are definitely ways of ultra niching, you know, strategically in, you know, multiple avenues. But, you know, so some people want to do that like I do. And some people are just like, I just want one, just help me do one kind of thing, right?
Right. So you definitely understand the perils of being a workaholic and how draining it can be. And particularly in the event business, that's a very stressful business.
Yeah.
And so you understand it so much that you have created actually 7 programs around this business. So can you explain what you mean by taking strategic time for yourself? That just fascinated me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a great question, Diane. You know, taking strategic time for yourself is just that. It's taking strategic time for yourself. But what I mean by that is that a lot of people, you know, so one of the things that people try to do, you know, to create more life balance, right, is they, you know, they hear take more time for yourself, right? Do some things that are for you. And so, you know, then they start doing things that they think are for them. But then ultimately, it's not really recuperative for them. It's not rejuvenating for them. So when you take strategic time for yourself, it's really about, you know, I mean, it's a very dynamic question, because there are ways that you can, you know, even that you can take strategic time for yourself when it comes to like relaxing or chillaxing or something, where like you do things with that time, like instead of watching, instead of binge watching TV, like, hey, if binge watching some shows is like your way of like unwinding, like for, a lot of event professionals that I know, that can be a way for them to just kind of disconnect with the energy that they've experienced and kind of unwind. Now, for others, that can be cumbersome and problematic because it makes them kind of check out a little too far. And it just can be a cycle that sets them up for overeating and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So that's what I mean by strategically taking time for yourself, because you have to really look at what your tendencies are. If you're the type of person where, you can go and binge watch some shows for a weekend and like come out of that weekend being rejuvenated, then wonderful, as long as it's not like hurting you in some way. But if you're the type of person that what you really need is to read a book to unwind, or take a bath, or, maybe even play with your kids, if that's something that is relaxing. For some people it is, for some people it isn't. That's kind of what I mean by strategically, taking some time for yourself.
Yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense, though. And that's a great point that you make, that people can sometimes do things that do harm them. And so they do need to be strategic. Excellent. So I also saw on your website something about feminine and masculine energy. How do we use that? I haven't heard that term before.
Oh, yeah. Great question. So, when it comes to feminine and masculine energy and my methodology of holistic success, I really like to look at the things that are more masculine energy, and what are some of those things that are more feminine energy. And it's not a judgment. There's things that are also kind of a combination. If you look at business, for example, business is business and accomplishment. These are very masculine types of energies. It's action oriented. Okay. It's action oriented. It's go getting kind of oriented. In order to be a successful businesswoman, you need to have a very strong masculine and feminine balance, because if you don't, you're going to be walked all over as a female entrepreneur. And this is just one of those realities. And it's not about, there's some subtle nuances here, because it's not about, not being your feminine self. It's about, really just having a balance of activity that you're doing that brings you towards your goals. And here, I'll give you an example, because sometimes this can be kind of, challenging to explain. So if you look at it from the perspective of, what are some things that are a feminine type of energy kind of a thing, some things that are more feminine are, like caretaking, right? Emotional caretaking, like being there for your clients and, things like that. So, hey, we need both, right? But, it could be the difference between like, you could think of it like, so if you're like a female entrepreneur and you are like filming a bunch of like videos or podcasts or something like that, or you've been creating a bunch, right? But you haven't been putting it out there. Well, the creating of it, that's a feminine, okay? The creation of stuff, creativity, very feminine, flowing type of energy. But in order to be successful in business, you need to have that balance of masculine energy so you can put it out there into the world, because that feminine part, she doesn't care. She doesn't care about putting it out into the world. She just wants to create, right? She doesn't care about being visible with her business online or wherever. So that masculine side, or masculine energy rather, that masculine energy really needs to come in and be a partner with that feminine side to bring things forward in business. Otherwise, what happens is that you end up, if you have too much feminine energy, you can end up, just being in this endless cycle of creating. but not doing the active outreach work to really, get your business out there. And, a lot of coaches face this, a lot of consultants face this, a lot of business owners face this, even when you're creating products, you're, really coming at it from this perspective. Creating products, creating, coaching systems, creating methodologies. It's this creation. And some people get stuck, Diane, in that creation loop because they get stuck in too much of the feminine energy as opposed to, being able to really harness that masculine energy to, be a partner with them and put that out as a vehicle, kind of a thing.
Wow. So yeah. Well, JD, I could talk all day about this, and I appreciate you being on the show, and you've given the viewers a lot to think about. But again, I appreciate you being on the show, and I appreciate your time today. Thanks so much.
Oh, thanks so much, Diane.
And thank you for watching Business Notes. We've been speaking with D Wildflower, expert coach and consultants. I'm your host, Diane Bogino, bringing you business ideas you can bank on.